everybody, welcome back to the Nocturnal Gaming Network. My name is Xeriua, and today we are playing Spaceflight Simulator. So the last couple episodes were subscriber critique and subscriber related videos, and after the subscriber related video, I've actually been, inspired. So I'm going to do a similar mission to what we just did with this subscriber, except I'm going to do it my way, basically. And we are going to be sending a rocket up. We're going to be sending a rover to the moon, and that rover is going to go through, do some sciencey stuff, collect some science, and then pack it into a disconnectable or whatever module and send it back home. And we're just going to get right into this. So, this rocket's going to be, fairly decent sized. We're going to start at the top. We're going to put our fairings in here. Bam, just like this. Now, I'm going to use a similar type setup to my subscriber Refluent, and I'm going to use a big-wheeled rover, except one of the big things I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure that it's got enough space in between it. So we actually want a couple of these struts, and mine's going to be a little bit wider, okay, than Refluent's rover, and we're going to set it something like this so that there are two spaces in between, and you can see two up here if I remove the fairing, two spaces in between each of the wheels. And what this does is it first off makes the wheelbase more even, but then when I go to my electrical, oops, that's the wrong button, I can put the ion thrusters here and then not have to struggle when I'm trying to land this thing to hit the center thruster, okay? And that's just making it one space wider. Next, we're going to go and we're going to put some fuel tanks on it, and I think we're going to make them orange because I like the orange fuel tanks on rovers and whatnot. And we're going to put 4 of them on there. So let's just set these two down here for a second. Alright, now, the actual structure of this rover. What I'm going to do is go back to utility. We're going to put 1 probe core. We need a 2nd probe core and a 3rd probe core. So the 3rd probe core is going to go, that's the wrong button, it's going to go right here at the center of the rover. Then I'm going to go to my electrical, and I'm going to start doing the electrical stuff. So we're going to put some RTGs right here, and then we're going to put some big bad batteries right here. And that should allow us to have enough space to mount the other fuel tanks. Alright, and then we're going to add another set of RTGs like this. And now we need to go to our basic parts and put our separator. So this is going to be our little escape vehicle here, the little probe, or maybe probe's not the right word here, but the little module that will head back home after we're done here. And we're going to put some RCS thrusters on it so it can control a little better. We're going to put another separator, and then we're going to grab one of these probe cores. Ooh, is that the 1st or the 2nd probe core? I think that's the 1st. So let's grab this one. We'll find out in a second here. Then we can go back to our electrical, and we're going to put some... Ooh, can I do this? No, I can't because the fairing won't let me. We're going to put some solar panels on it. So this is the escape vehicle. Put 1 nice little nice little parachute on it. We don't want to forget that and be in hot water like we were in the previous episode. And then we're going to put some RCS thrusters on this thing. Something like this. And now for decorations. So this thing doesn't have any antenna or anything on it, so I'm going to use something like this. Use these landing pad, and I'm going to call them antenna, right? Oop, that needs to go this way. So then when we're actually on the surface of the moon, we can extend them out, and we can get that to line up. Right? We can actually send and receive signal, let's say. So, next, oops, I don't want to move the RCS thruster. I want to set this up like straight line, just like this. That's not balanced. That's okay, though. That's okay. We don't need the balance here. We want to go to aerodynamic, and we need to figure out what's well, first, let's figure out how we're going to land this thing. I think I'm just going to use my standard little module here like this. This should be more than enough to land a 75-ton module on the moon. And I'll have the RCS thrusters from this to actually, keep me keep me honest and help me out if I need to. Now, where this is heavy, I don't know if these thrusters on the bottom are actually going to be enough to lift it, but we'll have to see what happens with that when we actually get it to the moon. We're going to make it a gray, I think, because we're using color elsewhere, so we might as well. Now, let's finish with the fairing. We're going to need the biggest fairing. And we're just going to keep going with the biggest fairing. Yeah, we can't slim down yet. We have to go past the wheels with the biggest fairing, and then we can slim down one, and then like this, and then like that. And hold on though. Can I do this? Yes, I can. Okay, so we'll slim down like this, right? And we're going to need a 3-block fairing, and then a 2, and then we can go and put our connector. So there we are. Here's the finished payload ready to go. Now, for the actual launching, we're going to put a secondary stage here, just like this. And now we're going to use a big, bad 5 thruster module here for the actual primary launch stage. So go back to aerodynamic, and we can put these aerodynamic nose cones on because I like them just like that. And we're going to put 3 tanks of fuel for each of these thrusters. And this should look very familiar because, I use this setup for the rocket all the time. It's very versatile. It is, wonderful. It always gets me where I need to go. So we have 441 tons. And we have a thrust of 1.44. So I think we're basically ready to go here. So let's hit launch. Please, launch. I know I hit the button. There we are. Zoom ourselves out. Look at this monstrosity. Get a nice thumbnail picture with it. Say cheese, rocket. And we can light all 5 of our thrusters. Alright, so we'll zoom out, hit start, are in fact actually firing. We can follow it. We're going to work our way up to, you know, just do a normal gravity turn here. That's nice and easy. There's no problem with that. Start rolling ourselves over 2,000 meters. We want to be at 45 degrees. Or thereabouts. I mean, we don't have to be perfectly at 45. Just, you know, guidelines. So we're at 2,000. We're a little less than 45, but we're just going to keep rolling over because it's fine. Now, make sure we keep zooming out and moving so we can actually see our path as we're going up. We want to be slightly higher, so we don't want to be rotated to 60 quite at the 5,000. We want to be probably lagging behind that just a little bit. So maybe like 8,000 we can go to 60, something like this, maybe 10. Alright, so here we are. Doing good. We can pretty much just roll ourselves over, so we're putting as much thrust as possible into our sideways momentum. Nice textbook launch. Like no spectacular fireworks, no spinning out of control. I mean, this was a good launch. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to lower my thrust on this one, and I'm just going to let myself creep up on the apoapse a little bit before firing my thrusters again. And this is going to allow me to get higher up into the atmosphere. I want to be above 25, maybe as high as like 26, 27. And then once I get to like, let's say 27, 2750, so right about here, I'm going to go back to full, and I'm going to just keep rotating myself. And, you know, as we should see, that will bring us very, very close to actually completing circularization here. So, here we are. Bam. Okay, now let's pop the fairing, zoom right in so we can get the tip. There we are. Stage, and then we can turn on our next engine. And this one right here will finish the circularization. We're going to go to the moon. Here's the moon. Set the moon as our target. Alright, and we're all ready to go here. So now we're just going to keep burning until we can get to the moon. This rocket is, you know, very good on thrust and very good on fuel, so we don't need to worry too much about creeping up on the apoapse. We can just keep going here, and we will probably end up passing it, but not by much. And we do need a full trip around the planet here because of the location of the moon, so that's, you know, sort of my bad. I'm just going to turn very, very slightly radial out here. Alright, and we're almost completely circularized. We need about another 50 meters per second here. So once my periapse gets to 30, like literally right at 30, I'm going to cut it. Bam, 31 was probably about, you know, half a second too much, but that's okay. So, for this, I think we're going to try to burn directly to the moon in one burn. So let's stop right here, start burning right now. Ooh, I do not want to recover that rocket. That one, I believe, is the subscriber rocket. We want to leave that in the file, just sitting here. And yeah, now we're burning towards the moon. We should have more than enough fuel in this stage. Oh, I have. Hold on. I've lost my buttons. The zoom game. Yes. Okay. I got my buttons back. We do need to go and set the moon as a target again. Whew, that was close. Hate it when that happens. Alright, keep going prograde, and we will keep raising our apoapse. I might not be able to do this in one burn. All depends on how far we get before we leave the transfer window here. If we can get to like 600 kilometers, we should be fine. But we'll see. Because, I mean, if we go too far, we don't want to do a second burn. There's 400. I'm going to go for it. I'm going to do it. Single burn. Probably should have started just a little bit earlier, but that's okay. Because once we get to, like, what is it, 750, we don't need that much fuel. It's just going to rocket right up there, and we're going to be good. Where are we? We're just past. This is probably about equal with where we started. We're going to get the moon encounter line any second now. Actually, we get it when we're about halfway there, but that should literally be in a couple seconds, so we'll be good. Now, with this rocket here, we've got enough fuel in the stage to get ourselves to the moon. And then I believe we have enough fuel to start circularization, but I don't think we have enough to actually finish circularization. So I think what's going to end up happening is I'm going to ditch this on a collision course with the moon, and we're going to, go through and do the circularization and landing on the moon with the final stage, with the descent stage. So here we are. Moon approach is listed. We're almost at an encounter. Any second now for the encounter. There's the encounter. So what we want to do is get a full encounter with the moon. And we're actually going to go until we start to wrap around the moon. That way when we separate this module, it doesn't, we don't lose that much speed. So something right about there is probably good. We've wrapped around. Now what we're going to do is we're going to go here and we're going to separate. There we go. I need to turn my thruster on. There's my thruster. I'm actually going to use... Do I want to use RCS? No, let's not use RCS. Let's first off turn the wheels off. There we go. And then we're just going to get out of the way of this module because we're going to slow down and it's going to go past us. So something like this right here. Okay, so now we should be fine. Let's go back and look at the moon. Oh dear, we've gone way, way further than we need to. Let's use our RCS and see if we can bring that back down. We want about 10 kilometers off the moon, and we can just puff this thing. There we go, 10 kilometers off the moon. That's perfect. And now, where is that? That's right there, so I'm going to go to my map, and I'm actually going to switch to it real quick. Switch to the other module, please. And I'm just going to make sure that we're still on a collision course with the moon. Ah, no we aren't. That sucks. So in this case, I should have included a control module on this thing to allow me to actually control it after separation, but that's okay. That's okay. What we can do is just fast forward in time. We'll see where it's going to go after it makes its encounter with the moon. So something right about like this. Bam, we have our encounter. Now, let's switch back to this. Where's it going to go? It's going to go off into space and cause problems. So let's switch back to this. I'm going to get rid of it because that was my mistake. I should have made it hit the moon. Alright, and we are going to prepare to decelerate ourselves and make landing on the moon. Alright, so there we go. I actually should turn RCS off. There we are, and we can go right about to here. And then we want to actually turn on our thrusters and close our orbit up. We want to make sure that we're not getting too close to the moon, remember. We want to keep our periaps around 10 kilometers, or try hard to do so. Something like that's probably good. Alright. And where are we? We're right here, so we're going to rotate ourselves around, and we're going to land in roughly, a similar spot to where we've been landing. So what we're going to do for that is move ourselves down to the, 9 o'clock-ish position, something like this. We can rotate ourselves around. We want to make sure we lower our periaps, but keep it off of 5. That's probably close enough. We're a little below 5, but that's okay. We can go around to approximately the 12 o'clock position here, and then we can start to slow our sideways momentum and begin landing with the moon. Just like we always do. Now, one reason I did specifically choose this landing area right here is because that way it would be easier to land, so we could, have a a nice landing zone that's first off on a flat, but second off, so we have a nice point to actually choose and say, okay, this is where I want to be, right? And start at exactly 12. We're going to go to 5 kilometers. There we are. And now we're going to begin to slow ourselves down for the final, final approach onto the moon. Like always, just keep an eye on your trajectory. As you slow your sideways momentum, it's going to want to creep up and pass where you're trying to land. So keep rotating yourself upwards, right? And that will help to push your trajectory along on its path. Now, we're going a little fast here. Because remember, I like to be at around, say, 40 meters per second when I'm at 200, not 200, 2,000 meters. But like I said, we're a little high this time. That's okay. This thing has enough thrust to slow us down nice and easily. So we can just keep working it, and we'll be good. Now, remember, we have the RCS thrusters, so if something happens, we have a bunch of RCS thrusters to help us out here. Always be preparing, right? Something like this. We can actually lower our thrust right now, too, to allow us to slow down slower, right, to maintain a better slowdown speed here. We're off the terrain, we're going 60 meters per second, so we're actually going a little fast here. So I'm just going to leave us on 30%, and I'm just going to continue to slow us down. We could probably go down to like 21%. That's probably pretty good, because we're at the 40 meters per second now. So as we get to about 1,000, we want to slow down even more. Let's check how we're doing here. Off the height. We're doing pretty good. Alright, now we want to try and move ourselves over, because this one I actually want to land on the right side of all the other modules, and we're going to turn RCS on now. Something like this. Alright. 400 meters off the ground, we want to begin to use the actual RCS and the rocket to finish our approach here. Use RCS to kind of push us along. Get ourselves pointed up so we can sort of do like a hover. Something like this. Turn ourselves just a little bit to the left so we can slow our sideways momentum too. we go. Easy does it. Just go down to like 20% thrust. That should be a nice and easy descent to the moon. Now, we are almost out of fuel, so we do have to be careful here. Last second, bam, bam. Okay, we've landed on the moon surface. So, let's rotate ourselves over using RCS to gently... There we go. Bam. Alright, so, what we're going to do is we're going to turn... how much fuel's left in this thing? 2%? Let's give this just a little bit of fuel, like 5% fuel, okay? And we're going to use RCS and just puff it up and throw it over here in the graveyard. So let's do that, right? Oh no, what happened? I've tipped over one of my other modules. How did that happen? Right. So, rover wheel is on. That's okay. Boom. Use the RCS. And just throw it over on the other side of the rover. Maybe I should connect it in with this and try and get a little more fuel even. Nah, we're good. We're just going to leave it right there. Call it good. Then we can switch back to the rover. And the first thing I'm going to do, so I don't forget, is fill that tank. Alright, now we want to turn all our rover wheels on and we want to try this. The rover is going to be a little less top-heavy than some of the other ones. I mean, it still does have a fairly high center of gravity when compared to, my mini rovers that I've done. But it's actually controlling fairly nicely. And with all these RTGs, we have a decent amount of power. Nothing that's, super special. If we just held in, it would continue to... Oh, we're going a little fast here. It's okay. We got this. So we're going on our mission. We've done our stuff. We can get our nice little communications dishes going. These are just for, communication across the moon. They're not really for any deep space communication. So, just use them like that. There we go. Now, let's test out the thrusters. RCS. Can RCS lift this? Yes, it can. You'd have to be very careful landing it. Okay. Now, we want to close the communication dishes. And then we can open the solar panels, because we're going to need solar panels if we actually want to use the ion thrusters for an extended period. But let's try the ion thrusters. Let's see. They can, in fact, lift this craft. Ooh, but basically only at like 100% thrust. If they're not at 100% thrust, they have a very difficult time. But with the solar panels, we actually have more than enough thrust, more than enough power, power generation to lift this thing off the ground. And we could do flying with it, and vector with it with the ions, or use the RCS. So I mean, this is what I think the rover should be. Now, the rover's done, right? We've gone through, we've done our mission. Maybe we're just going to leave it right here, like we're all set with it. Now we're going to put the communication stuff out, and we're going to get ready to launch this thing back home. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to put our solar panels out. Ooh, that's probably not a good idea. Let's try and close these. Okay, right, solar panels closed. So we're going to separate this. Which module did I keep control of? Oh, of course it's the right. That's the wrong one. This one? No. Oh, over here. I got it now. Switch to that one. Okay, so now we're in control of the satellite, the little module. So I forgot to refill the fuel, but that's okay. We don't need that much fuel. What we're going to do is we're going to use the RCS thrusters to just puff this thing up, turn that on, open the solar panels, of course. And both of those solar panels are going to have more than enough power generation to keep this thing going. So now we're heading home, and this thing's got so much thrust for just a little module, little tiny module with some ion engines. Like, it's almost ridiculous how much thrust to weight this thing has. So we can just, effortlessly and quickly launch ourselves off the moon surface. Lunar surface. I don't know why I had trouble with that. And we're going to start circularizing. At the same time, we're going to go back here. We're going to set the Earth as our target. And we are going to get ready to actually come home, to bring our science and our samples and everything home. So it does take a little bit, even though we do have a decent amount of thrust to actually get going. So we do have to just, wait for that, because it is an ion engine. It's, it takes a little bit. We also want to go radial out to make sure that we're raising our apoapse, because we want our apoapse to be up above the 5 kilometers. That way, when we actually start burning towards home, towards the Earth, we can do time warping. Because if we don't raise our apoapse high enough, when you try to go home, it's like, you can, but you kind of have to wait. And we don't want to wait any longer than we actually have to. So, yeah, we're about halfway to speed right now. About 340 is what we need from our experiments with the previous subscriber rocket. And like I said, Refluent's information for his YouTube is in the description of the previous video where I did the critique of his rocket, so check him out. If I remember, I will also put it in this video. That way it's in a couple different spots, just in case. And yeah, we're basically right there, ready to go. Let's turn radial out and raise our apoapse even more here. We don't really need to do too much with it, because, I mean, it's right there. It's going good. We're going to speed good. So, I mean, we're doing good. This is a nice, easy launch for the moon. Usually we have to baby it, and we have to be pointing up so much because, we don't have that much thrust on this module. But this one, look how far ahead of us the apoapse is. I mean, it's just way, way off in the distance. We're doing so good with this one. We're almost to the point where we can just cut out the engine, I guess. And we can't quite time warp yet because we're still at about 3.7 kilometers. So we'll just wait. Once we get to 5, we'll time warp to the apoapse and we can get going. We're going to actually probably need to be down on this bottom side of the moon to launch to get ourselves home. Maybe on this side at 7 o'clock or something. So we'll see that in just a second. Because now we're basically at 5 kilometers. So here we go. Time warp time. There we go. Time warp time. Alright. Now we can just continue to circularize ourselves. And there it is. We really just need to make sure that we are off of the lunar surface and don't smack into anything. We don't need any specific height, although it would be nice to be able to time warp here rather than having to wait. But, we're going to wait until we're literally right on the verge of the transfer window, and then we can just burn. This is a nice easy burn. We're going to be, going straight home. Even though we're using a small engine, we're still, we're still pushing the transfer window ahead of us. We're not actually, catching up to it because we have so much thrust on this little teeny module. So here we go. We're about halfway, per se, to the, end of the moon's sphere of influence. So we just need to wait a second, and once we leave moon's sphere of influence, our periapse is going to drop fairly rapidly too, so that's good. Alright, here we go. And we're going to go right down to 25 kilometers. Nice periapse. Everything's going great. 25 kilometers, here we come. 21 kilometers, that's probably close enough. Let's just accelerate time here. Alright, so. Bam. Oh, I'm still following something over there. That's not good. So once we get really close to the atmosphere, what we're going to want to do is separate the command module here. So let's do that let's do it in this direction, so we're facing up perpendicular to Earth's surface, and then right before we hit, we're gonna dump this. We actually have a lot of fuel, which is weird how much fuel we have left. So let's do that. Uh-oh. Oh no! I think I've made a mistake here. Yeah, look at that. So the solar panels are actually connecting this module to the rest of the... Oh dear, how did I miss that one? So the solar panels are connected to the separator. So because they're connected directly to the separator, I can't actually separate this thing. And I still have full control over it. That's interesting. I didn't think that was going to happen. But now I guess we're going to re-enter the whole thing. I hope this parachute's up to the job. I mean, it is a very light module, so it shouldn't be that big of a deal, right? Let's just wait. Once we get to about the 20 kilometer periapse, we're going to, completely spin our orbital path around, and we're just going to be, right where we need to be for landing this thing. I should probably try, I can't really point it retrograde because there's too much air resistance on it for the reaction wheels to flip it over, but I think it's going to be plenty slow enough to allow us to land easily here, because the speed is just dropping right off. Yeah, look at this. This is nice. This is going great. And we're going to hit, we're probably going to hit the 250 meter per second mark for the parachutes before we actually get to 10 kilometers like we did with the other piece that we brought in the last time with the rover, right? So here we are, 15 kilometers left. I don't even think I need to, I'm not even going to use my thrusters and whatnot to slow myself down. I mean, I could, but at this point it'd just be a waste of fuel because I don't need it. I actually do like how this one's coming in up, right side up. Or at least fairly right side up. It's probably going to change a little bit as my angle changes, because it looks like the air resistance is pushing on the solar panels primarily. I wonder if I can change that with this solar panel extended like this. Not really. Actually, yes. That's interesting. Let's use this solar panel here to try and keep ourselves pointed in the right direction so we don't have a parachute mishap like we've had in the past. Made on Earth by humans. Alright, so we're going to want to pop the parachute here when we get to about, I think I'm going to go like 500 meters. I think that's going to be the perfect height for this thing, because I mean we're going pretty slowly. When the drogue chute deploys, it's going to pretty well knock our speed down. Like, we don't have too much to worry about, so we can just continue to fall, even though we could use the parachute right about now. I'm not going to. Just get a little bit further to go. Very slowly making our way towards the surface. We are height off terrain now. 500 meters, here we come. I really hope this parachute's good enough to stop this module here, because if not, I'm going to look very silly after, recording for this whole mission and not having enough parachute for my mission. So here we are, 600 and 500, and we'll actually close the solar panel now. There we are. Where are we landing today? So this time it's going to be, I think that's going to be the Atlantic Ocean this time. I don't think we're going to end up in any of like the British or Middle Eastern waterways. I think it'll still be the Atlantic. So we're under 100 meters. We're coming down at 4.4 meters per second. Let's just see if we can brake a little bit more. Oh, we're out of fuel or electric power. There it is. So we have landed ourselves. We've got our data collected, and we left a rover on the moon. So that'll be it for this mission. We could recover it. We could see what recovering it is going to give us. Bam! Basically the same objectives. Reach low Earth orbit, enter Moon sphere of influence, entered Moon orbit, landed on Moon surface, escaped Moon sphere of influence, and, it doesn't include it, but landed on Earth. So thank you all so much for watching. My name's Xeriua, and this is the Nocturnal Gaming Network bringing you Spaceflight Simulator. Have yourselves a wonderful night, everybody.